Raider Nation, what's going on? It's game day. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, let's talk about the top 10 players that have the most to prove up against the Dallas Cowboys in preseason action today. But I also do want to talk a little bit here about Davante Adams, Antonio Pearson. I'm not trying to make something out of nothing, but I do think that this is something that the nation needs to at least talk about. Now, if you're living underneath a rock, maybe you don't know everything going on with Davante, and I don't even know if it's so much Antonio Pierce, but he's the head coach of the football team. Earlier this week, Davante was asked about, him wanting to play in the preseason game, and he was basically like, man, I haven't played in the preseason since 2016. I don't really know if I need it. And quite frankly, I don't know if I disagree with Davante Adams saying that, right? He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's probably looking at it that he's over 30 years old, and if God forbid he were to suffer an injury in the preseason, he could be out quite a bit of money in 2025 and 2026, because remember, his salary cap for the Raiders is $44.1 million over the next 2 years. So from a being great standpoint, from a receiver, I get all of the reasons why Davante doesn't want to go. But then Antonio Pierce, way back early on, way before Davante ever said those words, AP made it very clear that if you are healthy, you are going to play. And the way that I look at it is, yes, Davante is one of the best in the biz. Then you also got a guy like Max Crosby, where I feel like you got to keep him off the field. And they've actually been keeping him off the field because he's been that good at practice, effing up everything. But my point here is this. If Max Crosby looks at AP and AP says, hey, Max, you're going out there and you're going to play, Max says, no problem, I'm going to go out there and play. AP says it on Thursday that, whoever's healthy, you're going to go out there and you're going to play. So Davante practiced on Thursday, and remember, he missed quite a bit of time due to the fact that he was waiting for the birth of his baby boy. And again, he knows the Luke Getsy offense probably almost better than anybody on this team. But at the same time, you want your captains, you want your leaders to be able to show up. So then on Friday, he doesn't practice. And I don't know if he was just, maybe him and AP had an agreement that, hey, if you don't practice today, we don't got to worry about any of this drama. What I'm genuinely concerned about is AP tells the entire team last month, 2 months, I don't even remember when it was at this point, that if you're healthy, you're going to play in the preseason. Davante on Tuesday says, I don't really want to play in the preseason game. Thursday, AP comes back with hey, if you're healthy, you're going to play in the preseason. Friday, Davante's not out there at the practice field. He's walking around in street clothes. Raiders play today on Saturday. All I'm going to say is I definitely think it's something to look at. It's definitely something to monitor because it's Davante Adams and because it's our head coach right now, and there seems to be a little bit of a disagreement. I hope that both of those guys behind closed doors handled it like men, talked, and said, hey, you know what, this is just an agreement. This is an understanding that if you're unhealthy, then you don't have to play out there on Saturday. Though, with the quarterback battle, and quite frankly, I think this is the most important preseason game that the Raiders have had in, years. Legitimately years. We're probably going to figure out who our starting quarterback is going to be from today's game. And I don't really blame the Raiders fans, Antonio Pierce, for wanting Davante to be out there. And on top of that, Davante, it's expected that Gardner Minshew is going to start today, so I kind of just wanted to see how all that worked out. Bottom line is, this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show, and I want to know, is Davante Adams scaring you by him not practicing on Friday with everything going on with Antonio Pierce right now? We've already heard so many Davante Adams trade rumors, and I guarantee you this, you're going to get more next week. Not from me, but from around the world, there's going to be rumors circulating everywhere. Now, if somebody reports something, obviously I will cover it. It's my job. But I just hope that this doesn't turn into something that it's not. And I'll be real with you. I am scared. So let me know down in the comments section right now. You're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down. And is Davante Adams, Antonio Pierce situation right now scaring you a little bit? Yeah, I am scared a little bit. It's the only reason why I'm talking about it. I woke up early this morning. It's game day, man. I'm super fired up. And, my fiance, she's a diehard Cowboys fan. We're starting to convert her a little bit. She's been wearing some more Raider stuff. And, but, this is a very important game for me down here, and it's more than just a preseason game. But then also at the same time, when you see this type of drama, especially with one of your star-studded players, it is something to at least keep in mind. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. It is scaring me at least a little bit. All right, let's go now talk about the preseason game. I'm fired up for this one, man. Being able to see the nation over the week on Wednesday was one of the coolest experiences I've had, and I'm hoping that Allegiant Stadium is packed here for this one. Right now, as it stands, Raiders and Cowboys, the game starts at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. Our plan is we're going to be going live an hour before kickoff, so make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got all those notifications turned on. The Raiders are 6.5-point favorites, and on top of that, the over-under is set at 39.5. This is a game that I think the Raiders are going to blow out the Dallas Cowboys because they're going to try to play. From what it sounds like, Gardner's playing in the entire first quarter. Aidan's going to play the entire second quarter. With Anthony Brown being released yesterday, I expect you're going to see a lot of Nathan Peterman this entire second half, and then they might let Peterman play the entire third preseason game based off of what I understand. But then that 39.5, I'm going to take the over on that as well. Dallas doesn't expect to play many of their starters based off of what our Cowboys report host told me. He said you can expect 5 to 10 starters in this entire game. So, just definitely the first quarter is going to be important to watch for Raider fans in general, though. This is the most important first half of preseason football that, quite frankly, we might have ever watched. All right, so the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to go from 10, and I'm going to work my way down to 1 in terms of the most important players and kind of the guys that I think have the most to prove in this game from top to bottom, and I'm starting at number 10 here, and I'm going to go with linebacker Luke Masterson. When you go back and you watch the film from that first preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings, you can see Masterson, I would say, is probably responsible for that Kene Wangu touchdown run. It was the long one. It was about 40 yards. Masterson takes a bad angle, and it leads to a big-time touchdown run. Obviously, with a guy like Antonio Pierce, former linebacker, you want to see that cleaned up a little bit. But the Raiders are confident in Devine. They're confident in Tommy Eichenberg, Robert Spillane. I thought Amari Burney played well, and Amari Gaynor also, the UDFA out of North Carolina, was one of the highest-graded PFF players. Masterson was somebody last season that saw his reps go down and down and down. Special teams, and when Antonio Pierce took over, you saw some of those reps go down. So I know going into this season, we thought Luke was probably going to be that linebacker 3, competing there with Tommy Eichenberg as he's a rookie. But all I'm saying is, Masterson's tape was not that good last week. Somebody was drafted by but UDFA from Wake Forest, part of the McDaniels-Ziegler regime. All I'm saying is he's got to go out there and he's got to prove it today because some of those other guys, Kanai Malga also is nipping at his heels. Let's go to number 9 here. I'm going to go with defensive tackle Byron Young. He's got to show it, right? He's got to show that he can be able to anchor in. He's got to be able to show that he can be a reliable player when Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, John Jenkins need a breather. And we're going to talk about another player that he was drafted with here and coming up in a little bit because he needs to prove something too. But I just need to see that Byron's going to be able to go out there and he's going to be able to do it because this is one of those games where, a lot of reports during training camp where he's starting to figure it out. It's starting to look good. But training camp is one thing. I need to be able to see it out there on the field. He was not good last season as a rookie. He did not impress me very much last week as well. And if you're going to be this undersized as a defensive tackle, you better show some quickness. And I'm not even really seeing that all that much. So I know that they got Marquand McCall. Nesta Jade Silvera is another player. But quite frankly, Byron Young, though he was drafted in the 3rd round, 74 overall last season, he's got to prove it today. And if he doesn't prove it today, he might be playing a lot in that 3rd preseason game. But for a guy like Nesta Jade Silvera, for a dude like Marquand McCall, another very, very sneaky player to keep an eye on is Noah Shannon. He's a UDFA. Max, for the last week, has been really hyping him up, saying he brings the mentality, that he brings that confidence, and he's a hard-working guy. If you're Antonio Pierce and you go, do I want to bet on somebody who I think is really hard-working and a bigger body, somebody that one of my captains, Max Crosby, is endorsing, or do I want to continue to stick with Byron Young? And, Einstein said it, if you keep trying to do the same thing and you get the same results, that's insanity. Maybe they want to get away from insanity here a little bit. Let's go to number 8. I'm going to go Dylan Laube at the running back position, and we didn't really get to see anything from Laube, and we really didn't get to see anything in that second half of football last week just simply because the offensive line and quarterback play was non-existent, and I'm hoping that they're able to go out there this week with Nathan Peterman and able to just execute an offense so that way we can kind of see what some of our depth players look like. But I want to see it from Laube. He's been getting used a lot in these special turns. You've been seeing a lot of DJ Turner, a lot of Dylan Laube. They've been working mainly in practice as the top 2 kick returner, punt returner guys. But I want to see him get it done today. I want to see what he looks like with the offense, catching the football. Amir Abdullah in that Wednesday practice really impressed me. And I think it was expected that Laube was no doubt going to take that Amir Abdullah role. But over the past week and a half, he might still be behind Amir Abdullah here a little bit. Let's go to number 7. I'm going to go Jaydon Grant, safety. And this is another UDFA kid that has gotten some attention from Max Crosby, from some of the leaders on that team. And last week in the preseason game, he was working a little bit with the twos. Trey Taylor, he's battling a knee injury, not going to be playing in this one today, so they're going to try to rest him up a little bit, which I know Trey's really upset about just simply because he's got so much family down here in this like Dallas area, and he wanted to go up against the Cowboys. But for a guy like Jaydon, Chris Smith played in the third quarter. He played behind Jaydon. And if you're Grant right now in this very deep safety room that we have, he's going to be a sneaky guy that when it's all said and done, remember a few years ago, Isaiah Pola-Mao, he made the 53-man roster, and all of us were like, whoa, wow, like that was kind of surprising. Jaydon Grant could be that guy today, where he might be the 52nd, 53rd player, and with a solid preseason performance with the Trey Taylor injury, and if Chris Smith doesn't get it done today, Jaydon Grant got something to prove. Let's go to number 6 here. It's Nathan Peterman, man. Number 10. I'm excited to watch Peterman get out there and do it. He has done a good job in preseason. In the past, he's shown a lot of, I think, resilience throughout his entire career, entering year 7, 2 years with Luke Getsy. At the end of the day, Peterman's got to be able to go out there and execute the offense, whether that's with some of our, lesser wide receivers, the Jalen Guytons of the world, the Christian Wilkersons of the world. I think DJ Turner is now like in a different tier, kind of with like Turner to me is like in his own little tier where it's Davante, it's Jacoby, it's Trey Tucker. And then there's a tier with DJ Turner by himself. And then there's like another little spot down there with a Jalen Guyton, a Christian Wilkerson, some of that kind of stuff all around. But like when you think about this whole thing from top to bottom, a lot of Tulu Griffin, Ramel Keaton. I need to see some stuff from those guys as well, simply because we were unable to see it last week. So Peterman, go out there, execute the Luke Getsy offense. Let's see what it looks like. Coming in here at number 5, somebody I just mentioned, Christian Wilkerson. He's been balling out. Like, he's a player that I feel bad every year that I go, oh, man, I don't know if he's going to make the team. When he was at that practice on Wednesday, Gardner threw one up to him, and he came down to it in double coverage, brought it in for a touchdown. Wilkerson had 2 touchdown catches in that Wednesday action when all the fans were at Allegiant Stadium. But he's been working his way up. He's been, doing solid routes. He's a sure-handed player, and he's not somebody that I think I made this example on Wednesday, and I'm not calling him Davante Adams by any stretch of the imagination, but he's like a great value, maybe in a Dollar General, I don't know, Walmart version of Davante. And I say that because Davante's not a super fast receiver. But where he gets you is that first 5 yards, and he's just an assassin on the route tree. Wilkerson is sure-handed, good route runner, and he's not an explosive athlete. So when I look at Davante, it's like he's up here. Wilkerson's kind of like that same model. He's just not nearly as athletically gifted as what Davante Adams is. But like you can see that these quarterbacks, they trust Wilkerson. And in a time where, it's only Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, and a lot of unknowns when Davante was away, Wilkerson worked his way up that spot, and now he's very well trusted in that wide receiver room. So Wilkerson's a player that I did not think was going to make this team. If he has another solid outing, especially today in the first and second quarter, Wilkerson, like I said last week with DJ Turner, could be a lock to make this roster. Coming here at number 4, and I'm just going to jump also right to number 3, DJ Glaze and Thayer Munford. Thayer Munford was able to practice in like a limited fashion yesterday on Friday based on reports that I saw. And then also you got DJ Glaze who's battling for that right tackle spot. Like, there's been a lot of hype around Glaze because he's the rookie. And, I feel like every single offseason we always pay really, really close attention to the rookies. But Munford also is a solid player as well. I hope he's healthy. And I still think it's Munford's job to lose at this point. But if Munford struggles today and Glaze goes out there and gets it done, I really don't think people understand how important this preseason game is. And I know there's a lot of other stuff going on today. I was looking forward to potentially watching the UFC fight. If you're a Raider fan, this is the most important preseason game. I can't hype that enough. Let's go to number 2 here, and it's Tyree Wilson. If there is one player outside of the quarterbacks who we're about to talk to that has the most to prove today, it is Tyree Wilson. The jump, the get off, I need to see it all. And this may be me just, I don't want to create any drama from this situation, but I've been doing this for long enough. I know people that are very close to Tyree, and he does not want to get traded, or he doesn't want to move away, nothing like that. He loves being a Raider based on my conversations with him. But I see it year in and year out. Tyree Wilson is based here in Dallas, Texas. His agent is based here in Dallas, Texas. When he was working out this offseason, here in Dallas, Texas. He's got a lot of connections in this Cowboys area. He works out up at the Star quite often, which is where some of the Cowboys players practice down here in the Dallas area. But my point is this. If Tyree Wilson goes out there and he balls out, that's obviously a good sign. If he struggles today, though, I could actually see a team like the Cowboys going up to the Raiders and being like, hey, what do you want for him? And I don't want that to happen. Obviously, Chugs and I got very high hopes for Tyree. He's an athletic specimen. He's a massive human being. But you got to sooner or later be able to show it. Sooner or later, it's not always the conversation of he's a great athlete. He should be able to do this. He looks like he can do that. Sometimes you got to go out there and you got to be able to do it. So, Tyree, I've had a lot of conversations with you. I know that you want to be able to figure this thing out, but this is a big, big time game where you got to go out there and you got to be able to prove it, man. So to me, if there is one player that has by far the most to prove that is not a quarterback today, it is Tyree Wilson. And I promise you this, there will be some rumors around Wilson. That's all I'm saying. There's going to be some rumors around Tyree Wilson. I can't get into too much more. Let's go to number one here. It's Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell. I'm just going to put them both together. Gardner's going to get the start today. It sounds like he's going to play the entire first quarter. Aidan O'Connell's going to play the entire second quarter, which for a lot of people that watched my quarterback plan video all the way back on July 15th, this was the plan all along, and Antonio Pierce has stuck to it, so I do give him a lot of credit there. If Gardner goes out there and he balls out, maybe it's his job. If Aidan goes out there and he balls out, maybe it's his job. Quite frankly, the only way that I see Gardner Minshew getting the start over Aidan O'Connell week one is if Gardner goes out there and executes at a very high level, a lot of touchdown. Like, if he's got 3 drives, I think all 3 need to be almost scoring drives. You got 4 drives, 3 out of the 4. I'm not saying all need to be touchdowns, but he's got to be that much better than Aidan today, who's going to be going up against way more backups than what Gardner Minshew went up against. And I don't think that you can compare both of the preseason games simply because Aidan went up against 1s and some 2s in his first game. Minshew went up against some 1s, mainly 2s, when he went out there in that second quarter. This game's going to be a lot different. This game's going to be a little bit of 1s, lots of 2s for Gardner, and Aidan's going to be going up against nothing but 2s and 3s in that second quarter, just based off of everything that I've heard from Tom, who's our host of our Cowboys show here. So, I don't think that they're exactly comparable, and because they're not exactly comparable, that tells me Gardner's got to go out there and he's got to be unbelievably better, and Aidan's probably got to struggle. If that happens today, Gardner Minshew to me is going to be the starting quarterback week one up against the Chargers. If that doesn't happen today, if Gardner's just slightly better than Aidan, it's going to be Aidan's job. If they're both the exact same, Aidan's job. If Aidan's better and Gardner struggles, it's going to be Aidan's job today. So I definitely just want to see how that unfolds. It's going to be a fun quarterback battle to watch, and quite frankly, I don't know the last time that I was this fired up for a preseason game. I don't know if you could tell. All right, go down to the comments right now if you made it this far in the show and tell me what player you're most excited to watch, or maybe the player that you think has the most to prove today. Let me know down in the comments section. All right, final thing before I get out of here. Again, it's AP said that he plans on making a decision on who that starting quarterback is going to be after the game. I don't know if it's going to be instant like on a Sunday. Now, I will say this. Tomorrow, Sunday, you guys are going to get 2 videos from me. I'm going to do my Overreaction Sunday show. I'm also going to break down some winners and losers from the game, just like I did last week, and it's kind of what I'll do throughout the entirety of the season. But I would say if I'm Antonio Pierce, I meet with my team on Sunday, I get a good rest on it, you think about it very, very clear, and then Monday, you go out there and you make a decision. Now, I make a decision if I'm a head coach based on my football team, where I think Aidan deserves to know, I think Gardner deserves to know, I think everybody that's rocking a silver and black jersey, I think everybody that's a part of that team deserves to know. I will admit there's also that other part of me where it's like, we don't have to reveal our hand yet of who our starting quarterback is, because, if you make Jim Harbaugh think that it could be Aidan or Gardner, he's got a plan for both, and I don't mind that idea. But I understand AP wanting to make a decision because he probably wants to put an end to all the quarterback drama, and he just wants to focus on his entire team, which I absolutely, totally understand. And I think a lot of players are probably in the exact same boat there. So I would say if I'm AP, I'll probably make a decision maybe come Monday. Sleep on it a little bit on Sunday. If they make the decision, though, on Sunday, I think that just goes to show how sure that they are that the decision that they are making is the best-case scenario for the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, y'all, I got to get out of here. I actually have a haircut coming up here in a little bit, so I got to take Chuck out real quick, so he's taking a nap. I'll see you guys in a few hours. Raiders, Cowboys, big-time preseason game. If the Raiders win this game, y'all better make sure you check out my social media, because I don't care if it's a preseason game. Alex and I, we got a bet riding on this one. It's going to be late. It's going to be really, really late when I come home. I'll probably get home at probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. She'll be asleep. But I promise you this, I'm going to bring that energy if the Raiders get the dub today. So make sure you guys are following me on IG and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. All right, I'll see you guys later. Hopefully the Raiders can take down the Cowboys in preseason action. If you want more videos here from the Raiders Report, make sure you click this subscribe button right here. Let's help us get to 172,000 subscribers. It's kind of a crazy number, but I'd like to get there. For more videos, check out these right here. We're pumping out content every single day. And if you want even more videos from the Silver and Black, I got videos here, and click that subscribe.